Moved to the city of Rochester. First off, I'd like to say thank you, Robin, for everything you do. You are an inspiration to me, the people of the city. Obviously, people came out for you. I'd also like to say that there is a certain level of irony of attacking a woman like Robin when, if the shoe was on a different foot, if someone was being anti-Semitic, she would be the first person to have your back. She would be right there. She would be loud, she would be proud, and nobody would be able to tell her otherwise. The comments I've heard tonight are disgusting, gross, frustrating, and that's coming from a person who has no personal ties to them. I probably have some of the most privilege of anyone in this room. So, in keeping with the comments of the night, I do feel that these people don't deserve you. And yet I'm so glad you are here because, as the one person said, you inspire all of us. And I just wanted to say that, well, I mostly just didn't want to end on the other ones. So thank you for everything. Free Palestine, Black Lives Matter, go Robin Wilt.
Bill, I know it's been a long night, but can I please just say a few words?
Yeah. Of course.
Yeah, and I want to thank everyone again for coming out tonight to express what's on your hearts. My sincere hope is that everyone who is watching or attending or able to listen with intention and out of this, that we're able to garner greater understanding and peace through empathy towards one another. Again, as the person who continues to be at the center of this controversy, I wanted to make another statement, and I want to say this loud and clear for all the folks who are in the back of the room, all the folks who are outside of the room. I want to say unequivocally that anti-Semitism hurts the cause for Palestinian human rights. Anti-Semitism hurts the cause for Black liberation. Anti-Semitism hurts the cause for all human rights. It is not welcomed, it is not tolerated, nor does it reflect the spirit or plight of the Palestinian people. As I have with those whom I stand in solidarity with in the movement for human rights, I expressly denounce anti-Semitism in all of its forms, period. I appreciate all Jewish allies and accomplices who have been bold and brave in solidarity with the struggle for Palestinian human rights. No matter what our race or creed or zip code, we are all in this together. I see you and I thank you. The petition presented by those who are demanding my removal as the liaison to the Idea Board, it's been edited a bunch of times, and yet it still contains outright lies about the things that I have said. I think it's important that I address some of those misconceptions. I want to unpack a statement that I made that is being misquoted to suggest that I said Brighton had, quote unquote, too many Jews. I gotta tell you, that phrase, I have difficulty saying it because it's anathema to everything I believe. My actual words were that, quote, it is important that we stand in solidarity. And I'll say that allyship, true allyship, involves sacrifice. I know it's hard to stand up for Palestinian human rights in a town that has a significant Jewish population. It's not easy to stand up for what is right and what is just all the time, but that doesn't negate our responsibility. And just to lend context to that statement, this speech was about marginalization and oppression occurring along a continuum of dehumanization and the importance of standing in solidarity with oppressed and marginalized people, even when it may be hard or unpopular. The particular town in question was never mentioned by name, so anyone making inferences about whom it pertains is really projecting their own interpretation onto the statement. But what I want to make eminently clear about that statement is that it wasn't academic in nature. It was actually a reflection of what I was experiencing and continue to experience. My experience in just the first few days after posting in solidarity with Palestinian human rights on Facebook was to be attacked by many in this town who are in positions of leadership within the Jewish community. Those attacks persist more than 8 weeks later. For the record, when I said I know it's hard in this town to speak up in solidarity with Palestinian human rights, I was speaking my lived experience. My experience is not for anyone to challenge or minimize or to intellectualize. The number of people attacking me, maligning me, threatening me, and vilifying me speaks directly to that lived experience. The fact that I was literally speaking to my experience aside, I want to perform an intellectual exercise for all of you that I often do to test whether I articulated something that may be offensive, or if I was saying something, if I would be offended by the same thing said about me as a black woman. I asked myself if I would be offended if somebody said it was difficult to discuss anti-black racism in a town like Brighton that has a significant white population. The answer, of course, is that from my experience as a black woman currently discussing anti-black racism in a town that is 86% white, that's a true statement. The struggle is my lived experience. The other claim in the petition is that I use the charged term, the ones, to signify Jewish people, and it's also categorically false. My Facebook post that is quoted in its entirety in my detractor's position was written in the tradition of Martin Luther King Jr.'s letter from a Birmingham jail, specifically calling out supposed allies who would presume to dictate the timeline for liberation of black people, to call out those who were engaged in performative allyship. Those are, quote unquote, the ones to whom my disappointment is expressed. My comments have nothing to do with Jewish people, but only with people who stand idly by in the face of baseless attacks and marginalization that I have been experiencing, yet say that they stand up for human rights and are anti-racist. Others have enumerated the lies that have been disseminated about me since I spoke up in solidarity for the movement for Palestinian human rights. But just to clarify the categorically false statements, I want to name a few. One, that I support Hamas. I do not. That I'm a Jew hater. I am not. That I support Louis Farrakhan. I do not. That I never explained my intention in my post. I did. Almost immediately, even though I was off attending my son's graduation at West Point. That I never apologized. I did almost immediately, and I continue to do so. That I never spoke out against anti-Semitism. I did immediately by issuing both my own statement and a statement from Trua. That this is the only human rights issue that I have ever supported. I support human rights causes from healthcare to housing justice for all to immigration justice to the peace movement, to decarceration, to environmental justice, and the list goes on and on. And the last falsehood, that I never engage in dialogue with anyone who expressed concerns. I met personally with everyone who reached out, including rabbis and organizational leaders. The list of lies is endless, it seems. At this point, I can only assume that the willful spread of lies is meant not only to delegitimize me, but to inflict emotional and physical harm on me, on my family, and on my friends. Surely, I've already been subjected to the specific and credible threats from people in this community that I love. So I keep reflecting how this has unfolded, and I'm truly floored by the way people have made this about themselves while dismissing the entire point, which was Palestinian human rights. Literally everyone who has an issue is angry because they want to center their own feelings and not the issue of Palestinian human rights. The notion that standing up for Palestinian human rights is, quote unquote, taking sides or divisive demonstrates how twisted that this entire discussion has become. Our only enemy here is hatred. That's it. So it bears repeating that instead of focusing on the plight of those seeking human rights, those who are opposed or merely seeking to uphold the unjust status quo will instead seek to critique and police the language of the oppressed and those who stand in solidarity with the oppressed group. The thinly veiled racism in the reaction from people who conveniently ignore Sandra Dorley's anti-Semitic tropes and also ignore at least one of the anti-choice activists' comments minimizing the Holocaust. It's just mind-boggling. This campaign of hatred has become all about discrediting me because we disagree on how to promote Palestinian human rights. The privilege and the enforcement of the racial hierarchy, it's so ingrained in our country, and this has been a textbook case. So in conclusion, I just want to reiterate my statement of explanation that I made when people initially asked for clarification of what my 17-word post meant. I repeat this in hopes that we can try to find some understanding and empathy for one another instead of retreating to our respective corners. I would like to remind everyone that human rights are not a zero-sum game. We can stand up for the human rights for an oppressed group, and that doesn't mean that we don't deeply respect and desire human rights for everyone. There's absolutely nothing to reconcile the notion that affirming the human rights of one group somehow detracts from or disavows the human rights of another is precisely what keeps us divided and unable to treat one another humanely. Please stop equating the love of the marginalized with hatred of the predominant group. That's simply not how radical inclusion works. And again, peace and love to all of you. Thank you. Thank you for being here and engaging with our town government wherever you reside. Wherever you reside, you are welcome to address the Brighton Town Board. Thank you.
You're obviously welcome to stay if you would like, but we're now going to proceed with the rest of the agenda for tonight's meeting.